Hello.
I wonder how much time can we spend on that? So this is what happened. Yesterday we were giving a demo of Gapminder offline software, which we have just released on our website. And this software allows you, anybody, to visualize your own data in Gapminder bubble chart, which we are trying to do right now with different people, different data sets. And Delia here, she managed to visualize her own data about the university situations. Can you please tell us a few more words about that?
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Delia North. I'm from the University of KwaZulu-Natal in Durban, South Africa. I've been involved in teaching in many, many years, and I was asked to come up with, I was part of a team of 3 that worked out a national, for the university, an indicator of workload. Because a university academic is expected to teach, to supervise students, and to produce research. So we try to think across disciplines what would be reasonable. How would we be able to measure teaching? When you teach, you have to prepare, you stand in front of the class, and you also have to afterwards mark assessment and so on. So we had various items that we brought together at level 1 for every what we call notional hour. Every module at level 1 has got a certain number of hours of preparation, of standing in front of the class. So we worked it all out, and at each level we had what we call eventually preparation time, which is weighted across the years. So now for every person at university, academic, we have a preparation time for the year 2016, how much you prepared for your classes. And then we had teaching time, which was your marking as well as standing in front of the class. And I wanted to see, for the different people in my school, I'm dean and I'm head of statistics, mathematics, and computer science, because I wanted to see how this plays out, because we have people that say, I spend far too much preparing, teaching, whatever. So I wanted to see it across the different disciplines. And if you look at the bubble chart, and I want to thank Angie.
Can you please show us some discoveries that you found in the software? Can you please show the bubbles and particular things that you found, your aha moments?
Yes, what I was particularly interested in is that I can now instantly look at this and see, for example, you can see that the computer science, the orange bubbles, they're pretty much in the middle, so their preparation time is sort of not extremely high or extremely low, but you can see also there's sort of a good correlation between preparation time and total teaching time, but immediately one looks at someone that's a standout. And I was interested in the fact that I could quickly find out who it was. I could see a trend across the disciplines, but I could also, the size of the bubble are made according to the number of postgrad students. With other words, this person here, Nalisha, has a lot of postgrad students because she's got a big bubble. And I thought it was beautiful to be able to see from here, across disciplines, the light green is mathematics. I could see that generally a lot of people here at the lower end had fairly low preparation time, but also small bubbles, which means they also don't have that many postgrad students and low teaching time. So I felt I learned a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
And for those latecomers here, this was a pre-show announcement that yesterday we had a workshop where we showed how to put data into the Gapminder bubble chart, which is now freely available as an open source tool. And it took less than a day to create this showcase of something completely different than countries moving. Okay, so thank you very much. You made it. It was kind of a competition.
So I need you to open your folder.
Yes.
I haven't done that. Så prata på det. Här är Ola, Lena. Där.
Yes. I just went out to the cafeteria and told everybody that they really need to come in here. So while I'm talking now, they will be coming in, trickling in one by one. And actually, I'm just going to show what I didn't get time to show this morning because we ran short. And it's my morning presentation, so I'm going to jump into that one. And I'm temporarily unplugging this computer because I don't want to give away the results. No, I'm just running. Okay. We asked a bunch of fact questions, sorry, like this. Okay. So, a quick overview of what we're doing. Gapminder is a non-profit that promotes a fact-based worldview. And this is because there is a dramatic worldview out there which we measure through ignorance tests. And I tested a few of these questions this morning on this audience. When we tested on the public in Sweden, this question is, how long did women go to school on average? Men on average is the blue bar, and they went 8 years to school. Women, how long did they go? We asked the Swedish. And as you can see, only 9% think that women in this world went 7 years to school, and that's the correct answer. Swedish public is absolutely misinformed about the status of women because we exaggerate gender inequalities. And this is what our foundation is doing. We're measuring the understanding and compare it to reliable statistics. And we find enormous discrepancies across fields, environment, economy, demography, etc. Then we also work with trying to solve that problem. And the first thing is to make people aware of their own ignorance so that they can start learning. Otherwise, they assume they know everything already. The next part of the presentation will be focused 100% on the solution. How could people possibly get a fact-based worldview instead of this biased worldview? So just showing the results of this measuring, what we do to make people realize that they are really misinformed is we compare it with a random answer. On an ABC question like this, how long did women go to school? Chimpanzees would pick the right answer 33% of the time. So when people feel they are guessing and they think they're kind of picking a random answer because they don't really know, they are not. They are skewed by preconceived ideas. And across these, actually, I should show you then what the results were this morning of this audience. And you can see the top left chart here saying women aged 30 spent how long time in school? And the correct answer is 7 years. And only 29% of this noble audience scored correctly. So we know which questions audiences will pick the wrong answers on. It's very predictable how the misconceptions look. And to summarize the misconceptions, one could say that there is a dramatic worldview which shows up in this next question. Something went really wrong. Sorry, I have multiple slideshows open. This is one of multiple questions. Let me show the other one. I see now what's happening. Windows. Oh, there is a multiple screen thing. Sorry, I have multiple presentations open. Someone can help me. Why am I not even seeing the other one? Oh, there it is. Sorry, the live poll. Let's stick with these questions. In general, the public score very bad on these questions, and I'm just going to quickly run through them and then leave the floor to the solution for the fact-based worldview instead. The first question was about women. The second question down here, how many of the world's 1-year-old children are vaccinated against measles? Okay, we see this indicator in the SDGs, and when we measure the knowledge in the public, About 8% of the Swedish public get the answer right, and in this noble audience, only 29% of the audience got it right. So we're not trying to say that anyone is stupid, that's not it. It's just that we're absolutely misinformed even in this audience. And we're promoting the routinely checking of our knowledge, at least of the basic facts within our own organizations. As human beings, we like to be comfortable, and we don't want to criticize each other inside an organization. But unfortunately, that's exactly what we need to find a new culture to do, to start revising our own knowledge, to see what we know. Any organization with an activist cause, etc., will exaggerate its own data, and by the end of the day, stand in public and say false numbers, just because they happen to start believing in the false numbers themselves. So it's a call to be cautious, and I think that's the starting point with the dramatic worldview which we see. We can summarize it as the Westerners, at least where we are tested, they see the world as divided in two. There are the rich and the poor are many and the problems are not improving, because the next misconception is the world is getting worse. All the drama around the wars and disasters are just overwhelming in the media, and it skews our worldview. The third misconception is the feeling that the world population is just growing. These three misconceptions we think need to be battled in classrooms across the world, and we do these teaching materials and they are freely available. And we've created all these charts that we use to show it. For example, the world income distribution, or the distribution of people across the world on different income levels. And this will be my last chart, and then I leave over. This shows the number of people on different income levels when I was born in 1975. There were two worlds, right? The poor, this hump down there in extreme poverty, 50% roughly, and then there were the rich, and I was lucky enough to be born among the rich. This worldview of a divided world is maintained in media and in school books, but the world itself changed. During my life, there's no longer two humps of people. There is a continuous kind of normal distribution across the income per day levels, and people are absolutely unaware of it. The majority who left poverty, where did they go? Well, they went up to something here in the middle. And that means they are prepared for natural disasters, they have far less conflicts. Internal conflicts are often caused by a lot of poverty, at least sometimes, etc. A lot of problems in the world are getting smaller in the statistics, but in the media, they are still enormous. It's what media is about. So we don't see in the media this enormous change. That's why we need reliable statistics to actually show what the world looks like in graphs. So then I leave over to my co-founder of our foundation, who also happens to be my wife and the user experience designer of Gapminder, who tried to start using these in classrooms and encountered problems. Thank you.
So now I also have to change the slide set because he was actually crashing this event. Let's see. So where did it go? That's bad, right? We have to
restart.
Yes.
For some reason, it's not. Yeah.
It's not responding. That's weird. So go here. Let's go do it all over. So let's do like this. Okay. So I'm going to be quite quick. So the name for the whole session that has already pre-started with a few different small things is using photos as data to understand how everybody lives. And you will basically here, it's me and Ola from Gapminder, but we also have Jeroen here from Global Data Lab that will tell you a little bit about data calculations. So starting here, so what Ola showed you was actually that measuring this exact audience in the morning, they actually scored worse than a chimp. And I mean, this is a highly knowledgeable audience. How can that be? And what can we do? If we want to understand how people really live, and we're so completely wrong when it comes to our core understanding of the world, what can we do? Well, we always have statistics, and that's nice, that's wonderful, but we do have one slight problem here. and that is that many people actually hate statistics. So it doesn't matter, we spent our life doing colorful charts, bubbles moving in nice colors, and for people who like statistics, they enjoy it because they can see the statistics is finally flying and moving. We might get some of those who hate statistics to also like it, but for people who really hate statistics, they will still see it's a chart and they will not pay attention. So then we have the media. That's how you can learn about how people live, right? So in media, you learn a lot of really important stuff. You might learn about some operations. You might learn something about some birds. You might learn about natural disasters, conflicts, refugees, diseases, paradises, animals, minorities doing special things, or cultures with certain customs. All these put together creates an extraordinary worldview because the only thing you see will be the rare events that fascinates us. And I think that is how our mind is wired. So we look for all the extraordinary stuff, but when they pile up and we see nothing else, it will completely distract the worldview. So then you might say, to understand how people really live, we can search internet, right? We do have Google, so what's the problem? So if we go to Google and search for toilet, we will find these toilets. We search for stove, we will find these stoves, bed, sofa. I mean, this might be how people really live, because we Googled it, and there it is, and you have a lot of the same. Most likely it's the truth, right? But it's not. This is what people are actually aspiring to get in the top end of the income distribution. So this one, I used to show this one. You saw the income mountain that Ola was showing you recently. It's 7 billion people in the world. You see them in the front. And I used to ask students, where do you think you live? And usually I get this answer when I'm in Sweden. They think they are in the middle, most likely because they think, who am I? I'm not ultra rich, I'm not ultra poor, I'm somewhere in the middle, a middle class, so I must be in the middle. But in reality, most of them are up here. And if you have this big distortion in where you think you belong, like in relation to where you actually belong, how can you really understand how people live around the globe? So this is sort of the starting point and the problem, and we decided to start a project we call Dollar Street. And Dollar Street is a very simple one for those who doesn't like statistics but still need to learn about the world, the unseen, the things you don't see in the news. So think of the world as a street. The poorest lives to the far left, the richest to the right, and everybody else in between. Pretty simple. We have sent out photographers to homes all over the world. So far, 250 homes in 50 countries. In each homes, we look how people eat, what their toilet looks like and how they sleep, and 135 other things. We take photos of those. And now I'm just going to show you briefly what it looks like. So this is the live tool. It's free under Creative Commons. So you can use it however you like. You can also download all images. And we want you to contribute with homes. And we have instructions for that. So what we do here we see the families. You see on top, you see the street again here. You remember I said the Swedish students, they think that they live in the middle. So what we can do then is that we can filter and just look at the middle of the street like this. And then we can go and see, for instance, what does the beds look like? And then we can have a look. Then we get, this one was special. They sleep in Bangladesh, they seem to sleep in the wrong way. But except for that, all the others seem to be normal beds, but actually the Swedish student would not recognize their bedrooms. So then we can slide downwards, look, is it more like this? No, they would say this is not the type of beds we have. And we can slide it up and we can say, is this more what your Swedish bedroom looks like? And they would say, yeah, this is more like it. And then you see you're in the upper end. And we didn't really touch on statistics, but they can actually explore visually where they belong. And the cool thing, I don't know how well you can see that, but these homes are from so many different places. On the top row, Lithuania, Mexico, Sweden, Nepal, and United States, for instance. And seeing that it looks pretty similar across all these places. And what we can do here, we can change, as you saw, we can change and look at all these 135 different items. We can filter by different countries and regions where we have material, and we can filter the income. That is basically the whole idea. And going back now I do the magic sign to the top here, and we will get a small video. Ta-da! So we also captured videos, because some of the things in the home is not suitable in a picture, it's better as a video. How do you brush your teeth? And when we see here, going down on Dollar Street, we see actually everyone here is using a plastic toothbrush, right? It's pretty similar how you do. Some are more serious though, but otherwise. And then if you come further down, you will start using a stick or something, or even your finger. So this woman, now we can go back to the presentation. Thank you. So this woman you saw at the end, she's brushing her teeth using her finger, scraping up from the wall, mixing with water and doing like this. So what we do in the Dollar Street material, we tag the imagery by how it's used, not by what it looks like. So this image is tagged both as a wall and toothpaste. So, and then we I don't know how I want this. And it's distracting. And then we look at the imagery, and we start doing segmentations of the images. So you could basically see from the imagery we already got, you can see that in the world today, you could frankly say that you have a portion on the poorer end of Dollar Street, they brush their teeth with fingers or sticks. When you come up in the middle, you start having toothbrushes in plastic. And when you come up to the top, you start having one each in the family. So you no longer have to use your grandma's toothbrush, and that might be nice. So what you can do then is we can start looking at the countries. Here is US. We can zoom in on US. We can look at the home at the top, compare it, this is their home, the Howards, and compare it with the home at the bottom of the 5 income groups in US. So they represent the richer group and the poorer group, and we can start looking directly into the household assets they do have. So we go into, see their cutlery drawers, and we can definitely see differences. We can add another family that is more in the middle, and we can see the gradual change from a plastic box to at least a wooden box that is meant for cutlery to this wooden box with all these small departments for different kinds of cutlery. We can look at the kitchen sink, the living room, and so on. And we can, of course, do the same in China. Here are some Chinese families we've also visited. We can look at their houses, their sofas, and their stoves, and see the gradual difference. But the cool part is actually when we start comparing across countries. So now we have China and US. We look at the 2 richest homes we saw so far, the Wus and the Howards, and we look at their bedrooms and their play structures. And as you can see, they have pretty similar play structures, and most likely it's because both are made in China, but I mean, it's very interesting to see how they have the same type of material, and we can do the same at the bottom. So we go to the poorest Chinese family we saw and compare it with the family in Nigeria, and when we look at it here, it looks like they would have nothing in common. Our stereotypes kicks in and we think, what would they share? But if we start looking at the household assets, it's pretty fascinating. Their ceilings, their sofas, their grain, their dinner, and how they cook water. And if I would have traveled to Nigeria and I would have visited this household and taken a picture, I would have gone home to my friends in Sweden and family and told them, I've been to Nigeria, so now I know something about the Nigerian culture. This is how Nigerians prefer to boil their water. But when we look in the Dollar Street material, we see that this is how everyone boils their water on this income level across the world. So what we did then, we sent out photographers and we created this database where we collect them and make them visually comparable. But then we had an issue. How do we put them on the street? How do we construct this income scale? And then we have been talking quite a lot with Jeroen, and he's going to talk a little bit about how to measure, how to actually make that happen.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Anna. I'm sorry that I now will bore you a little bit with a much more boring talk instead of those nice pictures, but it's also a little bit more boring thing to find out how you have to place all those households on that line. And there we come in a little bit, we work together, and what Anna is doing and Gapminder is doing with all those pictures and with Dollar Street has close affinity with what we are doing with our International Wealth Index. My name is Jeroen Smits. I'm from the Global Data Lab from Radboud University in the Netherlands. And we have developed this International Wealth Index. And maybe a few words about the Global Data Lab. That's a lab that creates databases and develops instruments for measuring progress of societies. And we develop all kinds of indicators, specialized databases, and tools for translating knowledge, data into knowledge. And we can do that because we have a very huge database. For almost 20 years, we have been bringing together almost all household survey data sets for developing countries into one big data infrastructure, which contains at the moment more than 400 household surveys. We have data on over 30 million individuals in over 110 countries from all regions of the developing world. And one of the things which is very interesting for you is that we also have subnational data. So we have a database from where you can freely download a large number of indicators at the level of subnational regions within low and middle income countries. So to give an indication, if you are interested in poverty in specific regions of the developing world, you can get them from our database. And here I zoom into Africa, and you very clearly see the Central African poverty range and a number of other poverty spots in Africa. And to create these indicators, we use our International Wealth Index. And as you all might know, if you want to measure the economic situation of households in poor countries, that's very difficult because in wealthy countries you look at income, but in poor countries, in the rural areas of sub-Saharan African countries, income is not important or does not play a very important role. It's often unstable, it's not always in cash, there are few official labor contracts, there are reporting errors because there is an informal and black economy, a very large one. Of course, it's better to look at consumption, as the World Bank tends to do. However, to do that for many countries, it's very expensive because you need very expensive and extensive surveys. There is a high risk of reporting errors because many things have to be mentioned, so that also does not work so well. How then to measure the economic situations of households in poor countries? And that's important for the comparative research we at our department are doing. We do cross-national and cross-temporal comparative research, and then you want to have a kind of indicator for household wealth which is comparable. And that's the same problem also the people of Gapminder have. How can you place poor households into Dollar Street? And the way we do that is by looking at what people have. And that you can do with an asset-based wealth index. And what you simply do is you rank households on the basis of the assets they have. Consumer durables, whether they have a TV, a refrigerator, a car, etc. Characteristics of the house, the material, the building material, floor material, number of rooms. Toilet facility is also very important. Some houses have no toilet at all, or there might be a pit latrine, or there might be a real flush toilet. And if you have information on assets of households, you can enter them in a kind of in an analysis, principal component analysis, and then you get an index with which you can rank households within a specific country at a specific time from low to high on the basis of what they have. And what do you measure then? It's not income or so, but it's kind of longer-term socioeconomic position or living standard. Longer term, because you buy a TV and you use it over a longer time. And these asset-based wealth indices have been used very much since about the year 2000 when they started, when they were invented. And of course, such an index has great advantages, especially reliability of measurement. The interviewer simply sees the assets a household has, whether it's a TV and so on. It has intuitive appeal, because these assets are the things, the large majority, in fact, I think almost everybody of us wants to own, or at least tends to buy when we have the possibility. And if you have constructed that index, it's also ease of computation. You can simply add up asset coefficient to get the index. To place a household on it. However, the indices used until a few years ago had the great disadvantage that they were not comparable across time and place. They were made for each survey anew, so they could not be used for comparative research, which we are doing and which is also very important for Dollar Street. So we developed the International Wealth Index, and that's a comparable index that can be used for all low and middle income countries, and it is constructed in the same way as traditional wealth indices, but on the basis of many surveys. So from our database, we extracted 165 surveys, information on 2 million households, and we constructed our wealth index on the basis of that. And the index we got, we call it EV, like kiwi, runs from 0 to 100. 0 for households who have none of the assets, who have baddest quality housing and have no access to services. And of the whole 2 million households on which we constructed it, only 3% have nothing. On the other hand, the households who have everything and who have the best quality housing and access to services, they get the value of 100. So you can, there is a top. Over a certain level you cannot go. But across the developing world, all low and middle income countries, our database, only 1% of households had all those assets. This index can be very easily, as if you do surveys in Africa and other poor countries, you can very easily add this index to your survey, and you can find information on our website. And it's a universal scale. So any household in the world, if you have the required asset information, you can give it a rank on that scale. Although the wealthy households in wealthy countries, of course, are all more or less on 100. But any household with the same combination of assets is ranked the same. And what does this scale measure? It measures to what extent the basic material needs of households are met. And this is supposed to be the case if a household has all the assets including in the wealth index. It has good quality housing and has access to good quality services. And then you get the maximum score. And also the use of such an index fits very well with the idea of SDG 1, that we should aim to get everybody in the world, especially in the lower middle income countries, at a certain basic level. And in fact, if you look at the assets included in this index, this is achieved if a household has all the assets including in this index, except maybe for the car. So we should aim at getting every household at wealth value, an EV value of 90. What's our relationship with Dollar Street? The ideas behind our wealth index and Dollar Street are very similar. If you want to understand the lives of people, it's important to look at what they have. And similarity of assets and of housing indicates similarity in standard of living, independent of where a household is located. If it is in Mongolia or in Latin America or wherever, if they have the same assets, they have more or less, and same quality housing, they have more or less the same standard of living. Of course, there are individual preferences. Some households prefer first to buy a TV and then a refrigerator, but in the end, almost all households across the globe go for the whole set of assets. And the reason is, especially with some of those assets, like a refrigerator or a washing machine, because having it liberates the time of women. Because if you go to an African country and you see all those nice markets, they are also there because women don't have a refrigerator, so they have to go to the market. It costs very much time. Nice to see women washing clothes somewhere by hand, or in a river, but that's a terrible job, and nobody in this audience washes his or her clothes by hand. So everybody in the world, in the end, wants to achieve those assets, embrace them if they have the possibility. And the score they have on our wealth index, as well as the score, their address on Dollar Street, indicates how far they have come on this path. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So just now now you know the concept of Dollar Street, and you can actually compare imagery. So I was going to stop this one with going a really, really quick tour through some of the material, just to give you a reminder. And you will see a lot of image pairs from homes we have captured for different things. And what you should look out for, look at the country names. It's always comparing homes in different continents. So look at the similarities, even though we are in different continents. So we start by looking at some examples from the poorest homes. Roofs or ceilings. Beds in Burkina Faso and India. We have stoves in India and Malawi. How to store salt. Eating if you don't have cutlery, or if you have cutlery. The toilets, if you use the bush. And for the middle income, first we have this one. And what do they have in common? They have the two-child families. They have a similar way of using light, storing salt. The beds are now not on the floor anymore. The spoons, the pens, the ceilings, the walls, and the waste dumps. You can see here how people in the middle, they start actually getting things, but we still don't have the infrastructure to take care of it all. And toys. And then we go to the high level where we are actually, I would bet most of us actually live in. And we can see sofas, fruit, hairbrushes, bookshelves, toilet paper, wardrobes, shoes, lamps, dogs, floor, soap, washing machines, clocks, computers, iPhones, and so on. So do you remember what I showed in the beginning with a toothbrush, that we actually did this kind of segmentation where we said the one to the left, the poorest on the Dollar Street usually uses their fingers or sticks or something, and then you start having one each. We can do this kind of segmentation with all the material we have gathered so far, and to show you some examples, we have door locks. The poorest will have something to close their door, but it will not be safe. And you will not be able to store expensive stuff behind that one because it's easy to get in. In the middle, you will start to have padlocks. And on the highest level, you will always have an integrated lock. The door might look different, the handle might vary, but it will still always be integrated into the door. When it comes to lights, the poorest will still depend on the moon. In the middle, you will have a bulb. And up here, we start using light as a decoration. So we decorate in the ceiling and on the wall, and we have extra lamps and so on. The bed goes from sleeping on the floor to having something that extends it from the floor, and just having one each. The roofs goes from using natural material only. In the middle, we start using patchworks. Basically, whenever we find something, we add it on. So it grows gradually. And in the richer end, we do first have a blueprint of our house, and then we build it exactly as the blueprint shows. Toilet goes from using the bush to having latrine to having a water closet. Getting water, going from getting it from an unsafe place, surface water, to have a wall or a tap, and to use hot and cold water indoors. Food goes from having deficient food, and in the middle, we start having nutritious food, but very repetitive, maybe a bit boring. And when we come up to our income level, then we eat different things for all the meals of the day, and we also vary between the days. So we feel that if we had like Asian food yesterday, should we maybe go for Italian today, and so on. And this way we can actually use the photos and do this kind of segmentations visually without really using the charts and the numbers, but still the idea will go through. So the Dollar Street concept, what do we have today? Well, today we have 250 homes from 50 countries. They are all under CC, so all of you can you can go to the website and you can use it however you like, but you can also download the imagery if you need to use it for something. And you can also help us gather more homes. So we do have, in the About section, you can go and find a questionnaire, and you can find the list for the checklist for what things we need from each home to actually make it a Dollar Street home that can live on the site. And we almost have a user upload interface ready. It's not completely ready, so still you have to send it to us, but we can make it available within a day or two at this point. And then, what are we going for? Well, first of all, we will add videos. We do have videos from a lot of these homes, for how people wash their clothes, how they start their stove, how they wake up in the morning, and so on. A lot of different things, how they wash their hands, and so on. Those we have to add. We don't have the interface ready yet, but it will come. We will make it possible to embed it into your own website, and we will initialize the user upload. We do want to reach for at least 1,000 homes from 200 countries, meaning to make this tool really good, we would need to have at least 5 homes per country of the world, so that you could see the income distribution within your country, and you could also compare it with the rest of the world. That is what we're aiming for, but to do that, we would actually need help. And it's not that hard to make a home, and I'm thinking getting 5 homes from each country shouldn't be that hard. So if you know someone who likes to do photography, or if you're interested yourself, we would really like to collaborate. And some other things we also want to do. Now we have created the Dollar Street for homes, but we should do it as well for classrooms, for religious sites, for markets, and so on. So, using photos as data to see how people really live, that is what we think is necessary to make people understand the world, and we want you to contribute. And you can reach us at www.dollarstreet.org. That is where you find the free website for actually looking at the photos. And if you contact me at anna@gapminder.org, that is where you basically send your request if you want to do things. You can download the resources needed to do home documentations directly from the website. If you just want to go wild and do it without talking to us before, that's fine. If you want to communicate with us, we will be out here for today and tomorrow as well. And you can always reach us here. Thank you. Sorry. Any questions is what I'm supposed to ask here. Ola is saying, yes. We have a question or a microphone. It's a question rather there. Yeah. Or if you, yeah, can you go there and you scream? You have a very screamy voice. Yes. You can be the live mic if you want to. Oh, a mic is coming.
Wonderful. Oh, you guys just take care.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, I'm Buthaina Ghanem from Palestine.
Okay.
Actually, it's amazing what I have seen, and I like the photos always in my even daily life, in reports, whatever.
Oh.
But to which extent you're now dealing with photos inside houses, and to which extent do you think that this process is affecting or breaking the privacy and confidentiality? To share photos from inside homes, it's something a little bit sensitive. How did you manage to convince people and to get such photos? Thank you very much.
I would say on the poorer end of the street, it's very easy. Because when you tell someone living on the poorer side that people in the rich end have no clue how they live, they had actually everyone we asked actually wanted to join. So in that end, it was quite easy. In the middle, it was still easy. And in the richer end, we're still trying to figure out how to do it. So I would say it's different kinds of problems. I would say in the poorer end as well, you don't have a luxury of privacy, and you have never had. So privacy is not a concern, I would say, in that sense. And you're happy that something is happening, and we have been working with very nice photographers, nice people. In the upper end, in the richer scale, I think people start to get a little bit concerned about privacy, and it feels a little bit uncomfortable. And it's always, if this is some kind of a Robin Hood approach, where we actually sort of show how the poorer have, do you want to be the representative of the rich who doesn't share? I mean, who knows? I'm not sure really how they think. But the ones that actually wanted to participate on the richer end, I mean, they were very positive as well. So we have never ever forced us in. So it's up to each and everyone to decide. And if they realize that they are not comfortable doing this anymore, I mean, then we can just we will pull it down. So it's, I mean, I think if you participate, it's because you like the idea. And you understand that among 7 billion people in the world, your home is an example of something. It's not so much about you, yourself, but it's about comparing and see others on my income level, what do we have in common? So, I mean, if we should be really, really bold, I would say it's more of a almost peace approach, or working against racism and so on. So of course, it's not the regular thing to walk into someone's home and take a picture of their toilet or their toothbrush. It's very unusual, but I think it is by seeing those normal objects, these everyday objects, we start understanding what life is like on different income levels. So I think it has a higher value. Yeah, and they sign an informed consent. So, and we actually had a few families that participated, and afterwards they felt like, oh, I shouldn't have. And then we removed the imagery. And I mean, things happen. No, I have many more questions. We do have a couple of homes from Palestine, he says, show them. And I'm saying, no, yeah, but I'm saying, no, I'm not going to do that now. I can do it afterwards because I have more questions. So sorry for the... yes? Oh, we have the mic there, so maybe you should start.
Oh, yeah, thank you so much. I apologize, I want to go back to the questionnaire that you ran. And measuring,
Yeah.
For example, the number of years that women go through the school. How do you check that what you measure is really knowledge? Because when you see a questionnaire like that, I think what people try to reply, they don't reply by knowing a number, they have an impression. So I think if you put in the same question, you give the hint of men doing 8 years, but I don't think that's a hint. I think that's a leading thing, and you mislead people. So, and all the answers you offer are below that. So if you give 9, 7, and 5, maybe you'll get the majority of people saying 7, which is the right answer. So it's a measure of impression. And how do you test that, and how do you turn that into a measure of knowledge of people?
No, we intentionally frame the questions to disclose what the frame is. You're absolutely right. These are not knowledge questions. These are ignorance questions. We know how to trigger the ignorance. We know how to frame it so that they answer wrongly. So there is this common feeling that, oh, that was not a neutral question. Yeah, I'm not looking for that. We're not looking for neutral questions. If I compare it with men, I kick in the dramatic feeling that women are far behind men in education, and then I measure how strong that feeling is. That's what we're measuring. If you call that knowledge or not, I don't know. But it definitely shows in what way the world is distorted and what instruments you can use what people use as important information or not. So, for example, fertility rate of Christians, of Catholics and Muslims, when we put in these words in the question about fertility rate, we saw very little influence. I thought we would see a lot of misconceptions, etc. But we're intentionally trying different frames. So pretty much that's what we're doing. We're testing the strength of different framing of questions in some sense. But if we had more resources, we would do it in an even more careful way and trying a completely neutral question, etc. But actually, the ranges of the answer alternatives, we have constructed based on an open answer question saying, what percent of children are vaccinated? And that's how we figured out there was ignorance, because the histogram showed that with an open answer question, not 3 alternatives, people said 20%. Then we construct an ABC question so that they can pick the A, which is wrong, because that's what they want to pick if they have an open answer. Then we can compare it with chimpanzees and say, they wouldn't pick that one, why did you do it? So we are hunting misconceptions in that sense. I hope that answers it.
Is there any more questions? Yeah, I think we will have time for one more while the others are just coming down and starting to sit down.
Okay, hi. 2 bits. I'm a great fan of using photographs, and one of the things I thought you could do with this, as a suggestion, maybe your colleague might like to comment on this, is then coding the information in the photographs and then to generate the kind of ASICS indicators that you're using on your data set, and in that way then predict the probability of escape out of poverty. So my question to you, I guess, is the extent to which you might turn this into a database where you update those households over time. You create a photographic panel study.
Yeah.
And then my second thing is, I'm an academic at the University of Western Cape here. I would love to contribute towards your project, but I doubt that I would get this through my ethics committee.
Yes.
And I wondered what experience you've had with ethics committees at universities, where anonymity is one of the things we have to assure. And obviously, you cannot have an anonymous photograph without pixeling out the face.
Yeah. So maybe Jeroen should be the one to answer. Just a very quick comment. We are hoping that we will be able to go back to the exact same GPS coordinates over time and come back. We have to figure out how to fund that, though. But we do get the GPS coordinates, but we keep them in our secret files. Just.
With regard to the ethics issue, I think you are not a university, because we are not, as a university, we have developed that wealth index, and that's our contribution, but so maybe I hand the question back to you. How?
Yes, you could say the short answer would be, being a small independent nonprofit gives you bigger freedom. That would be the short answer. Still, you have to be very careful with the ethics. So, I mean, it's not like you can do whatever you like, but we don't have the same procedures, the formalities. Yes. So, thank you. We will be in the booth for today and tomorrow as well. So come there if you have any questions or any concerns, and we will continue from here. Thank you for coming.